Hey guys, it's your girl T, and it's time for another recap of Real Housewives of Atlanta. And yes, I'm on time with this recap, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, we had a good old time yesterday on Twitter going in. They were wilding out once again. So we pick up this story, and they're still in Mexico. NeNe just called Peter a bitch, and the whole room is quiet. Everybody's looking at Cynthia's ass, and Cynthia's still sitting there once again looking dumbfounded, like she doesn't know what to do or what to say. So then Peter says, you know what, you took it too far. How dare you call me a bitch? She says, well, I didn't mean to call you a bitch. I mean that you're acting like a bitch, as if there's a big difference in that. And then Gregg decides to jump back in, and he tells Peter flat out, Peter, I done gave you a pass. This is the last time that you'll ever talk to my wife like that. You only get one pass with me. I'm sitting here looking at him like, who the fuck is Gregg supposed to be? Are you OG Bobby Gregg Leaks? Like, nobody is scared of you, Gregg. Sir, have a seat before you break your hip. Gregg was just doing too much in that scene, acting just too damn tough. And then Cynthia got the nerve to ask, is there anybody sane left in the room? I don't know about anybody being sane, but I do know who the scariest person is in the room, and that's you, Cynthia, for not standing up for your husband. You lost major cool points with me during that entire altercation. Moving on to the next scene. On the next scene, they're all back in Atlanta. They've all left Mexico, and Kenya has decided to invite Marlo over to spill the tea on everything that happened. So while Marlo's there, there's a strange ring at the doorbell, and in comes this white woman with a black baby doll. One of those baby dolls that you would use in junior high to pretend that that's your real baby and how it is to care for a child. So the lady brings the doll so that way Kenya can feel, you know, what it is to be a mother. And instead of Kenya being happy that the lady bought her a doll, she proceeds to ask this white woman, why did she bring her a black doll? She's like, don't you realize I'm mixed? I have white in me. Why would you bring me a brown skinned doll? And everybody on Twitter just went in on her. Like I told y'all a few weeks ago when that bitch was at the sperm bank talking about she wants a baby with green eyes and fine features and good hair and all that other bullshit. I told y'all a few weeks ago that this bitch was self-hating, and now she proved it to all of y'all. You know, my thing is I don't understand how a dark-skinned woman can get offended by seeing a dark-skinned doll. Bitch, your dumb ass can't pass no brown paper bag test. So how dare you get mad that you have a dark-skinned doll? If you're that upset by having a dark-skinned doll, imagine if her child comes out her same complexion. Kenya is not light-skinned. She's not even brown-skinned. Kenya is very dark-skinned. And then for her to be offended that the woman bought her a doll that's her same skin tone is just absurd to me. Even the white lady was looking at Kenya like she was stupid. The white lady was like, what are you talking about? She's the same color you are. And then Kenya had to reiterate that she had white in her, as if anybody can tell her, as if anybody gives a fuck. You know, this is just sad. And folks were like, well, you know what? Maybe she feels that way because of her hair and her eyes. First of all, her eyes aren't really green, they're contacts. Porsha has busted her out. And second of all, mixed and biracial people are not the only people who can have long hair, okay? There are a lot of full black women. I know a lot of African women with hair past their shoulders, with hair to the middle of their back. You don't have to have a drop of white or Indian in you to have mid-back length hair. So her, you know, having some Indian in her doesn't mean anything. To me, that comment that she made about that doll skin tone says a lot about Kenya's mentality. And for a 40-year-old woman to be on national television having to play mother to a doll says a lot about her. It almost seems like she's almost mentally unstable. She seems like the type of chick that would beat a pregnant girl's ass, steal her baby from her, and then come back on the next season of Real Housewives of Atlanta like, look, you guys, I had a baby. Kenya Moore is crazy as cat shit. Y'all better watch out for that bride. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Kandi, and once again, she's meeting with her manager, Don Juan. And Don Juan is a trip. I love the faces that he makes because Don Juan is always looking disgusted no matter what. So Don Juan is going over this letter that Porsha's lawyer sent them, and basically Porsha got more demands than Beyonce and Mariah Carey. It's like, bitch, you are Porsha's steward. Nobody knew who you were before the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Why the hell is your head so damn big? So she wants Kandi to pay for her gas to and from the rehearsals. She wants her own separate green room. Porsha wants all this shit that she's listed up on this thing. And Kandi and Don Juan are reading through this list like, is this bitch crazy? We have Eddie Levert and Shirley Murdoch, and they're not even asking for all these accommodations. Who the hell is Porsha supposed to be? And then she also wanted her name to be listed as one of the opening headliners. Kandi calls her in to speak to her, and Kandi basically tells Porsha, like, you know what? You're being real extra right now. We are not putting gas in your car. You live almost an hour away from the rehearsals. I'm not paying for you to come down. You know, this is just a bit much. I've already been burnt by friends when I went through everything with Kim, and now I feel like, you know, you're pulling the stunt with this whole lawyer thing. And then Porsha, instead of her being an adult and just admitting to her, you know, her wrongdoing, she then blames the lawyer and says that it's the lawyer's fault and that she wasn't sure what all the lawyer put in there and that NeNe advised her to get a lawyer. Don Juan had me cracking up because he told her flat out, we can't meet these demands. You know, know, we're not going to be working with this, so you got to figure out what you want to do, but we're not meeting all these demands of yours. So of course she's embarrassed and she's salty and she doesn't want to piss Kandi off, so she kind of just falls back. Kandi tells her, you need to be here Friday. Friday's our first official rehearsal. Okay, so why in the next scene is Friday and this bitch Porsha's with her sister and all her friends at the club, clubbing, celebrating the fact that she got this role? How are you celebrating that you got a role, but you're not there at the audition to practice for that role that you received? You know, it's like she's taking advantage of Kandi's kindness. And like I said on Twitter, if I was Kandi, I would just tell Porsha, never mind, we'll find somebody else. Like Beyonce said, bitch, you are replaceable. And if I were Kandi, I would replace Porsha with the damn quickness, okay? So in the next scene, we have Kandi, Don Juan, Victor, and D Woods. So she decides to take all these people back to her old high school to go meet with her principal because Kandi wants to get back to the community. She wants to pick 2 outstanding students from her old high school to basically give them a chance to work on her production. And so, you know, the principal is just really proud of her. And then in walks in her teacher, her drama teacher, who would take her on auditions and everything else. And Kandi breaks down crying. But what had me cracking up was folks on Twitter calling Kandi's teacher Rosa Parks. She did kind of resemble Rosa Parks. But you know what? It made me proud to see Kandi giving back. You know what I'm saying? It's good to see that regardless of how much money Kandi has made for herself, regardless of the fact that Kandi has been out since she was 14 doing her thing. She's built her own empire. It has not gone to Kandi's head. Kandi is not walking around here with delusions of grandeur like Porsha is. Kandi don't think she's a rich bitch like NeNe does. Kandi doesn't think she's all that in a bag of chips like Kenya does. And Kandi's not a punk like Cynthia. I love Kandi's personality, and I love the fact that Kandi takes up for herself. She's business savvy and she gives back to her community, and I'm really proud of that fact that Kandi did that. So the funniest part of that entire scene was when Kandi got on stage, when she got up there and she was talking about picking 2 of the kids to help her with her production. You know, the kids weren't crazy, they were really, really happy. And then she said that she wanted to introduce Victor and D Woods. What was so funny is that all the students got quiet. They kind of looked at each other and they was looking like, Hoppo, who this woman D Woods? Who is D Woods? And everybody just kind of kept looking around like, who? So that whole scene had me cracking up, because when she was naming out some of them folks, them kids was looking confused as hell. They're looking like, Kandi, we know who you are. All them extra people we don't know. We just want to be on your team, okay? We are Team Kandi. We're not team nobody else. So moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Cynthia and Peter, and they're talking in Cynthia's closet. And basically, Cynthia's, you know, still upset. She hasn't talked to NeNe in a few weeks, ever since they got back from Mexico. She hasn't spoken to NeNe. She feels like NeNe, you know, what she said to her husband was an ultimate form of disrespect. Peter was kind of upset with her because she didn't stick up for him. And Peter feels like, you know what, you're my wife. You need to say something to NeNe because that's your supposed friend. But Cynthia, being the punk that she is, she'd rather just, you know, brush it under the rug and move on. And Peter's like, no, we need to get this addressed. We need to get this cleaned up. So they decide to basically, you know, reach out to NeNe and them, and they decide to go out to dinner with them later on that evening. So in the next scene, we have NeNe. She's dressed like a gangster. Cynthia looks like Barbara Bush. Peter's sitting there looking like Uncle Ben's. And Gregg's ass done had on the same fucking button-up shirt all damn season. So they're all sitting there around this table getting ready to eat. And basically they're talking. And Peter is telling NeNe how he feels about this situation. How he felt disrespected. How he felt emasculated by NeNe calling him a bitch. And NeNe's not taking any personal responsibility. She's making all these fucking childish faces. She's talking back to him. She keeps cutting him off. Not one time did this broad apologize. It got so bad that Gregg had to apologize on her behalf. And not one time did Cynthia check her. You know, Cynthia was still trying to, you know what I mean, keep up appearances and be friends with her. It's like, damn, how strong is that friendship contract, Cynthia? Is a contract with your friend more important than the contract with your damn husband that you made before God? I don't understand how Cynthia is so scared of NeNe. This shit makes no sense to me whatsoever. She didn't check her. She didn't tell NeNe this is how she felt. And then she didn't let NeNe know, you know what I'm saying, that you need to be sincere when you apologize. And saying that my husband was acting like a bitch is no different than calling my husband a bitch. You know what I'm saying? If somebody would have called Gregg a bitch, if somebody would have disrespected Gregg, NeNe would have been up in arms. So for her to think that it's okay to talk to her best friend's husband like that, I don't find it okay at all. And another thing that trips me out was whenever somebody confronts NeNe about her attitude and the way that she's behaving, she likes to deflect and blame NeNe. Bitch, you're 40-something years old. Quit blaming imaginary people. Quit blaming these fake-ass personalities. That is your personality. You chose to call that man a bitch, not NeNe. It was not NeNe that called him a bitch. It was Nalethea Leaks. Take up for what you did, own up to it, and apologize like the grown woman that you should be. NeNe's husband don't walk around with her purse half the whole damn season, but you got the audacity to call somebody else's husband a bitch. Girl, by the irony is straight up lost on me with that one. How you gonna call her husband a bitch, but your husband acts like a fucking butler? He carries your purses, he carries your bags, and he doesn't speak unless spoken to. And Gregg needs to get over himself and stop thinking he's OG Bobby Johnson, because to be honest with y'all, if Gregg and Peter was to get into a fight, Peter's Jamaican ass would kick Gregg's ass all day, every day. Peter is fit. He looks damn good for his age. Gregg looks like he's 9 months pregnant and like he might break a hip if you yell at him too damn hard. So I'm gonna need Gregg to have several damn seats for trying to buck up to Peter. Okay? Thank you. So after all the fugazi ass bullshit, they all decide to hold hands and basically laugh it off and kiki like everything's all good. So that ending was just full of shit to me. And to me, Cynthia still came out looking like a punk. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. And if you're not following me, make sure you follow me on Twitter. I am @LovelyT. See you guys next week. Deuces.